I'm going to talk to you about conversational interfaces and artificial intelligence and the benefits for SMEs. So the three questions, the big ones, the important ones: why are they important? What can they do for your business? And how can we use them? So why? So chatbots are not new things. So the first chatbot was created in the 60s, so they've been around for a long time. So why are they important now as opposed to 10 years ago or 20 years ago? So we've been talking a lot about the fourth industrial revolution. So these new opportunities, entirely new ways of doing business, and also ways that existing business is changing radically. So this is the reality that we're working in currently. In addition to that, we're scaling up. So if you are an SME that works in Africa, your current addressable audience is about 500 million people. In the next 4 to 6 years, that's going to be 2 billion. So you've got this business environment of rapid change combined with an audience that's growing at an exponential rate. And that's obviously great, but there are challenges associated with this kind of sudden ramp up in the terms of people that you need to communicate with and engage with. So increasingly, you're going to have two customers. You're going to have a digital endemic. So this is someone who has never lived in a world without mobile on-demand services. So they are entirely bored of apps. There's nothing that you can do that they're really going to think is particularly exciting or innovative in that space, because they are really experienced. They have really high expectations. So if your service isn't as on-demand and immediate as something like Uber, they're going to judge you for it. And they demand personalization and relevancy. So this is a generation that is very aware of the brand user relationship and what you should be providing. And lastly, they probably don't speak English, because the majority of the world doesn't. So really the challenge here is, how are you going to differentiate your business to make meaningful connections with these people, long-lasting connections? The other part of your target markets, the next kind of 1 billion users that you're going to unlock, are these digital fledglings. So these are people that will probably never use a laptop. They're going straight to a smartphone. And just like they do that kind of leapfrog, rather than going through traditional UI, a traditional user interface, they're going to go straight to conversation. So they're going to grow up expecting to be able to talk to computers like they talk to each other. So these guys just leapt the digital divide, so they have fairly low digital literacy. They're cost sensitive, so in terms of each individual interaction to communicate with you, but also in terms of having to download an initial app or something to get the relationship started. They crave familiarity, so WhatsApp is kind of the gateway drug of the smartphone world. Everyone knows how to chat and how to engage through that kind of platform. So that is a pattern that they know inherently. And again, they're probably not English. And as the audience expands, you're going to have speakers of more and more languages as you kind of grow. And here the challenge is really to unlock that new opportunity. So if there are 1 billion new people, how do you engage with them? How do you connect with them? So next is what? So what value do conversational interfaces add to your business offering? So machine learning and artificial intelligence are two terms that are used kind of interchangeably. So this is supposed to be about artificial intelligence, but particularly if you're a data scientist, you might shout at me. I'm talking specifically about machine learning. So machine learning is a branch of AI that is about, how do you teach machines to solve problems that they haven't found yet? And the reason this is important with language is because you can't hard code everything that every person will ever say to a chatbot, because you don't know, people will say crazy things. Although the number one question on the MTN Masterclass chatbot today was, when is lunch? So there are certain things you can count on. So we're talking about machine learning in this context. Any kind of machine learning algorithm needs data. So you give it data to train it, to teach it, so that in future situations it will be able to help you. Like anything else, the quality of your data, the type of data, where it is, the amount of data, all kind of adds up to what you can do with it. So first kind of tier, you can only really collect. As you go up, you can get to an optimization phase where you're automating business efficiencies. This is actually somewhere where SMEs have a huge advantage over enterprises. So once you're an enterprise, your legacy data kind of management and handling things are such a intrinsic part of your business that it's very difficult to change. So as an SME, you can much more quickly change things to unlock value, which is actually a really powerful place to be. So the three things that machine learning give you: insight. So this is in terms of taking models that are based on reality that is maybe very complex. So an example would be agriculture. There's soil pH, there's climate, there's rainfall, all those things, and working out based on real data when the best time to plant a certain kind of beans is. The next one is prediction. So normally in a sales context, this is, what are people going to buy next? What do people buy together? What are they going to do next? Where are they going to click next? And being able to predict your customers' behavior helps you give them an experience that is obviously really, really good for them and is more likely to close the sales loop. The third is creating a connection. And this is the thing that I'm going to talk about because this is sort of what I'm passionate about and what our product tries to do. So how do you use artificial intelligence and machine learning to actually make interactions more human? So how do you do that? So this audience, despite being very diverse, the thing that links them together is really language. So both of these people can be spoken to through a conversational interface, through natural language. And there are a whole bunch of different kinds of conversational interfaces. So that's why I say conversational interface as opposed to just chatbot, because there are different things that you can do. So the first one is, I think, the one that most people know. So this is something on Messenger. You are talking to an automated system. In this example, you can talk to characters from a kid's show, and they reply. Then you get websites, which I think are also quite familiar. There's a little pop-up in the bottom right that lets you talk to, it's often a mix between a human and a chatbot. So it's a human during office hours. After hours, it's an automated response. You get mixed UI. So I think this is a really awesome space to be playing in. I think there's a lot you can do. But this is something that combines traditional app elements or traditional web elements with a conversational interface. So they ask you a question, but then present the content through kind of an app sales platform. And lastly, voice-based services. So this is made famous by things like Siri or Alexa. You can literally ask questions, give commands in your normal voice. So that is the technology that kind of links them all together, right? So that's how, if someone says to us, transfer 150 Rand to savings account tomorrow, we use that to work out what they want to do, when they want to do it, even how they feel about it. So it's a really hard science, and that's why, even though the first chatbot was made in 1967, it's taken us 40 years to get to a place where we can make production-level chatbots. And that's because language is really complicated. So it's not just about data science or about computer programming. It's also about psychology. It's about sociology. It's about linguistics. It's about stats. So it's this really varied, complicated field. And that's why it's taken us a while to get to this place. There are also a lot of things about language that are inherent to language that makes this really complicated. So language is unstructured. If you are conversing with someone and you say, I would like sugar in my coffee, please, 2 with a bit of milk, I'm sure you all know that the 2 with a bit of milk refers to the sugar, right? So, but this is the way people speak, but that's very complicated for a machine to understand. The context is wrong, the grammar is wrong, there's sort of all sorts of things that make it difficult. The other thing is that language is ambiguous. So this is my favorite example. If you said to someone, get the cat with the gloves, you could mean, get the cat who is standing next to the gloves, get the cat who is wearing gloves, or put on some gloves and get the cat. Now, those are all obviously very, very different scenarios, and you would probably understand from the context of the situation what someone meant if they said that to you. So context and common sense is really important. We as humans mostly have lots of common sense. Machines struggle with that kind of thing. So, for example, if someone said to you, I love flying planes, we people know that all planes fly, and then that's not really a characteristic you would emphasize. So we would assume that this person meant they're a pilot, they like to fly planes. But that kind of processing is much more complicated to map out than it is when it happens in your head. So in this kind of exciting space, we've been developing a product called Feersum Engine. This is what I've been doing for the last 18 months. And it basically lets people talk to digital products or services using natural language and in their mother tongue. So that is really where we try and differentiate ourselves from IBM Watson, for example, is that we work in all the official languages. But really, we're trying to make those interactions more human. So just because something is an automated service doesn't mean that it needs to feel like a robot. So our product is an intelligent conversational experience engine, which I know is quite a long, convoluted name. But basically, it's got 2 parts. So on the one side, there's a conversational experience engine. And on the other side, there's kind of the natural language understanding and machine learning part. So it's the structure and the order and kind of the intelligence and smarts behind it. You can use them together or separately, depending on your needs. The conversation experience engine, that connects to different platforms. So it could be Facebook Messenger, it could be Twitter, it could be WhatsApp, it could be a website, whatever that is. It controls the workflows and the logic. So if you want to start a process with a user and you know that you first want to ask them their name, then maybe where they're from, kind of that journey, it controls that experience for you. And it curates content or videos or images or anything that you want to engage with. On the other side is the NLU stuff. So this is the part that understands what language you're speaking. It works out how you feel. It can sort of determine sentiment from emojis. It learns about your users. It learns about them in terms of themselves and how they behave, but also as how they link to a particular target market. And it allows you to target particular business goals or user experience goals. So the way that our reporting is set up, you would create a goal for registration, for buying this product, for the subscription, and you can actually report on your goals, see the steps that users took to get to the goal, and you can optimize that using machine learning. So you can create different experiences. Maybe you want to test different tones. Maybe you want to test like very formal language versus very informal language. You can create those, and rather than having to optimize beforehand rather than UX design is still always important, but it allows you to do the basic setup and then let the machine kind of learn as you engage with users. So just some things that we have out of the box. Natural language form filling. So if someone says to you, my name is Karabu and I am 28 years old and I drive a red car, we can work out what bits they've given us, what bits they still need to give us, and it's much more engaging than having to fill in form field over form field over form field. Also just intent classification, so that's how we work out what's happening. Natural language FAQs, so people can ask a question, get the right answer. Sentiment language, and text and document classification. So this might be something if you ask people to send you an ID or some kind of policy, this would be what lets you know that they've at least sent the right thing. So when you put these things together, you get personalized, relevant communication for differentiation and for scale. So I really believe it's a channel that you can reach a very diverse market. You also are able to use machine learning models to automate increased efficiency. So like I said with that user experience example, how do I get people to buy? What are the steps? What are the questions? And how can I run that over a period of months to get to sort of the greatest efficiency for that target? What we're really trying to do whenever we create a chatbot experience is adhere to these 4 principles. So the 4 principles that we try to adhere to. So the first one is that it's universal. So this is the way that we've created our models. You can add new languages at any time. We can talk about specific domains like health or finance, but it's really about creating a way that is as near universally accessible as possible. So also, you can be on WhatsApp and the web and a standalone app and kind of Facebook Messenger. So it's about creating that universal experience. The next principle is about familiarity. So people really do understand a chat paradigm. Obviously, initially, it's just because you actually talk to your friends, you talk to your family, but kind of this back and forth is very easy for people to understand. So that gives them a familiarity that other services really don't. The next principle that we try and adhere to is about making things personal. So this is kind of hyper relevance. It's about responding to you based on the language you use. It's about giving you kind of the right kind of buy options. It's really about creating something that is intrinsic to you and that becomes more and more about you as it goes along. And lastly, we're trying to make something that's always evolving. So just like the machine learning models try and learn every time they get a new bit of data, we try and keep the user experience growing in the same way. So our toolkits let you identify places where you should be optimizing, places where there are problems, places where you want to communicate. So where are the opportunities for SMEs? I really like sets of 3, so I'm going to talk about 3 things. So the first is personal assistance. These are live demos down at the bottom there. You can go play with them. So through very simple things, so this one uses an intent detection, it uses a date parser, and it uses a calendar integration. So this kind of just lets someone make appointments for particular services within your business. So it's actually very, very simple, but it gives quite a lot of value. So the date parser here, you can say things like the day after Christmas at 2 p.m. So you get out of that horrible, I'm sorry, please re-enter the date in this format thing that, that loop that you often get stuck in. You can also do things with sentiment. So responding to people in a way that is aware of what they're feeling is a very powerful thing. So if someone is upset, you say you're sorry. If someone is super happy, you say that's great. Maybe give us a referral. So you can engage with people based on their mood. Often what we do if a client has a call center is if someone sounds upset, we break them out and send them to a human, or if they start swearing or whatever it is. So that kind of gives you a really good context. And again, you can just be happy, sad, neutral, or you can be much more nuanced around how many responses you want to give. The next opportunity is customer support. So this is your frontline customer support for frequently asked questions. It's really important here that if you do have a call center, this sort of never entirely eradicates the need for a call center. So this is about taking away all the low value, high volume interactions. So the machine does the simple, easy requests like, what is my account balance? And then that leaves humans to deal with much more complicated issues like, I just got divorced and my husband has the TV in his name, but now, I want to change it back to my name. So like that kind of problem is a human problem. What is my account balance is a machine problem. Also, these services have the opportunity to help call center agents be better at their job. So being a call center agent, if anyone's worked in that space, have a lot of turnover, you've got a lot of information that you need to learn at any time, and you can use these sorts of systems as companions. So as a call center agent, I have someone on the phone, but I can talk to this chatbot to get the answers. Another advantage of this is that they continually train the chatbot. So by the time you launch to the public, you have a really amazing service. And customer support is not just sort of your classic, what is my account balance type question. There are also health implications. So this is for pharmacodynamics. Their CSI initiative is around preventing stunting in young children. So they have a recipe bot that you sign up and you get healthy recipe content and a shopping list every week, but you can also ask it health questions. So obviously there are risks in this kind of thing, so you don't want to give people health advice. So if someone asks about something like diabetes, we tell them a little bit and then we tell them to consult a healthcare practitioner. But if they ask us something generic, just around food, what they should eat, we can answer those questions. And this kind of thing allows you to make a very powerful tool that takes a lot of the guesswork out of people trying to find this information themselves, particularly if you're a trusted brand or a trusted source and you're giving people this content. And lastly, sales. So obviously, if you're a small startup and there's only one of you, adding any kind of digital channel increases your selling power. So this is an example of a UI that uses both chat and traditional elements. You can also go play with this one downstairs, but it sells insurance. So rather than filling in a form, you get to have a chat experience. The advantage of building this in a mixed UI is also that you can do web, mobile, kind of a fully responsive interface. So if you were going to build chatbots, what are, guess how many steps I have? Amazing. If you were going to build your own chatbot, the first thing is to think about is why. So why does your chatbot need to exist? And this is just a really useful worksheet for value proposition exercises. It works actually for anything. It doesn't just have to be chatbots. But our chatbot helps specific customers who want to do what by fulfilling specific jobs. So the idea is that you create something quite functional, quite and use that as the basis. So what? So think of the functional things that your chatbot should be doing. These are maybe tasks that you do regularly. You know, as a business owner, where your problems lie. You know what people need more of. You know what people complain about. So what are the top 3 or 4 things that you would like to do? You need to balance it with your existing customer service. So maybe you actually have a call center. Maybe your customer service team is just you. But you've got to have some kind of way of handing over between the chatbot and yourself or your call center. And then you think about where it lives. So is it a Facebook Messenger bot? Do you want to be on Twitter? Is this a standalone entity? And how? You start with an understanding of your user. So creating personas is still a great place to start. Maybe there are 3 personas you want to explore. The machine learning models allow you to choose which one is better over time and to choose how you should speak to those people over time. But doing your homework up front lets you start that process. Chatbots can have personalities. They don't have to be robotic. You can create kind of a whole profile around them. They behave in different ways. You can create animations and emotions and feelings. All of these things obviously depend on your brand and your product and how kind of people you are. But there's a lot of opportunity here to create something that is actually engaging and is hopefully much more engaging than sitting on a call center call for 15 minutes until you reach someone. And there's a lot of customizability you can do. So it's much cheaper and easier on a chatbot to let people, talk in different languages, to let them choose different avatars, to give them different kinds of content. So there's a lot of room for creativity here. So hopefully I've convinced you that chatbots are really important. We're running a competition at the MTN Masterclass where you can win your very, very own chatbot. So if you'd like such a thing, please chat to Zoe and Jackie. They'll sign you up. And also, if you want to see a demo of the actual product and back end, just give me a shout and I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. Thank you.